There we go. Hello, how's it, guys? These hard drives that we have in our grubby little midst, full of photographs. I don't know how many pictures you've got, but I have quite a few, it has to be said. And I really have no idea what to do with them, which is a bit unfortunate, really, isn't it? But I've been looking a lot recently at people like Scott Olson and his Fargo Street book. There's a chap here called Mark Wilson. This is an awesome book, by the way. It's all as abandoned coastal defences from like World War II, and I love that. That's pretty cool. And then there's this photo book here by Edward Thompson, who I've had on the channel a couple of times. When in the Lone Star State, which they're all pretty cool. And I have to say I very much enjoy looking at all these photographs. But there's a common theme here. All three of these photographers got up off their backside and actually did something with their pictures. I've been struggling a lot recently with just thinking about what it is that I really want to do with my photos. Should I actually do anything at all with them? But then, of course, that begs the question, like, why do I take them in the first place? Well, okay, that one's easy to answer. I like to take them because I like to take them. I like to see what the picture looks like. I get a little thrill out of seeing things that other people don't see, especially when I'm doing work in the city. You know, all that stuff that I do on the tube or in airports and what have you, that people just kind of overlook, and I go, hey, that's cool. At least I get to see something that I think is interesting in a place that a lot of people just kind of go, not that fussed. But there's still this nagging doubt inside me about should I make a book? And the more I've thought about this, the more I'm getting overwhelmed. I don't know if you feel the same when you look at your body of work, especially when I haven't been photographing specifically for a project. So I thought I'm going to talk you through my thought process at the moment, see where I am, try and get some clarity on why am I taking photographs, what I'm going to do with them. And the first thing, of course, is to actually look at the picture. I have been taking photos for 30 odd years. And over that time, I've taken some okay pictures and I've taken some pretty junky photos. But broadly speaking, my work sort of distilled itself down into, let's say, a framework. So in this regard, it would be something like I photograph a lot of square. And if I look at my work that's sort of more recent, I've been leaning towards color, which is an odd thing. Well, I'd say it's an odd thing. It's not an odd thing. So it's odd for me because for the last 10 years or so, I've photographed almost exclusively in black and white because it was my thing, right? But I'm just looking at these images here and I'm going, I really quite like them. I like the fact that there's a little bit of more openness about the images. Now maybe that's just because it's different to what I normally photograph. There's bits of color in there. It's less gloomy, it's less dark, it's less heavy. I would say that's pretty cool. I do like it. Is there enough there to kind of start looking, hey, I'm going to make a book out of this? Because of course, if I'm thinking about making a book, or you can't just sit there and go, oh, do you know, I've got like 100 pictures that look vaguely the same. I'm going to make a zine out of that. Or can you? Maybe this is me overthinking stuff. I seem to recall having a chat with Phil Penman, and this is half remembered, so forgive me if it's wrong, but he was saying something like his last book or what have you, that he started off with like 100,000 images or something of that nature. And when I think about that, I get like proper overwhelmed. I'm like, what? How am I ever going to do this? Because surely a book needs a theme, and it needs all of this kind of stuff, and it needs to be the creme de la creme of your pictures. So when I flick through these pictures, when I look at this black and white stuff, this F15, I love this picture. I took it fairly recent up in Duxford, and it's a scene that I photographed quite a lot. I go to Duxford on a fairly regular basis, and the light that day, this is the first time I saw the light on the F15 this way. And I thought, oh, I really like that. And I've been paying attention to making more of this light, of leaning into these starbursts and what have you. But at the same time, again, I don't think that 10, 15 images as a starting point is enough to get with the book. And of course, so there we go. I'm sort of thinking it's a starting point. I've said it myself. It's a starting point. Do I like that approach enough to commit to a whole project on it? I have no idea. And this is why I'm sitting here trying to go through these to see what I've taken over the past, what we've got here. There's about 15 years worth of photographs here. If I look, there's some stuff here from when I went to Frankfurt. Now this is prior to my son being born, so it's at least 8 years. I think this is like 2012, so it might even be 13 years old. And my work's sort of changed from here, and I don't think there's enough in that to warrant a book. But at the same time, there might be clues in that to say, hey, this is something that you could focus on, that you could say in a year's time, I'm going to have some of my work. If I look at photographs that are more recent, so this is from a photo walk in London last year. We met us some chaps and we walked around. This is still in that sort of similar vein of the Frankfurt stuff. So it's 35mm format, it's this sort of full frame stuff. It's not square. It's more in keeping with that older work that I was doing. It's less, I want to say, aggressive black and white images that I create, which I really love. I love shooting like this. I love the dark, punchy blacks and that very oppressive tone. And already I can see in my head, I'm thinking, this is work that I'm more attached to. This is work that I feel more like it's me. But then that begs another question. Is it worth sharing? Is it worth putting out there? Now, that's obviously a question that I don't think has an answer. If these photographs, I really like them. Would I expect them to go anywhere, to become sort of some grand gallery scheme and sort of fated by also be? No. I take them because I like them. And I have been taking them because I like them for about 10 years or so. However, at the same time, and I don't know if you ever feel this way about your own images, you get so used to seeing them that you sort of think, hey, they're not all that great. Now, I've always been somewhat reticent to come on here, have a chat with you guys and say, hey, look, my work's so cool and awesome. Because I'm not that way inclined. I like to toot my own horn from time to time, but also to sit here and go, oh my God, this is so cool, this is amazing. I feel really odd about doing that with my own photographs. And I don't know why that should be. So I do kind of play down sometimes the idea about them. So when friends of mine look at the pictures and they go, oh, these are so cool. They're not my style, but I really like them. I sort of go, hey, that's awesome. And I somewhat am dismissive about my pictures. And I shouldn't be. Well, I'm not as bad as I used to be. I used to be awful. I'd be like, oh my God, they're rubbish. But at the same time, that feels like it's false. It's false modesty, isn't it? No, we don't want to be false. We want to be like properly modest, right? So when I kind of go through all these pictures, I'm wondering what direction I should be heading with these photographs, because I definitely know there are some aspects that I'm not going to pursue in terms of these. I went through a phase, was it towards the end of last year? I was like, hey, I'm very much into Stephen Shaw's kind of work. And I tried taking photographs like that. And as much as I enjoyed them at the time, and those of you who watched the videos around about when I went to Vienna, it was short-lived. I am quite clearly not that kind of photographer. I am a photographer who enjoys shape and very strong graphic element. I am a photographer who enjoys seeing things that are hiding in plain sight. This photograph here, skylight with a little lamp, there's a nice kind of cool exclamation mark. It's outside the front door of a friend of mine's place when she lived in Silver Spring in DC. She'd never seen it. She'd come out of that door how many times? But that was the kind of thing that I like. I like photographing concrete. I like photographing hard buildings. Frankfurt. This is not Frankfurt. This is Vienna. This is, I think, the main train station when you come from the airport. I love that. I love this kind of stuff. Thousands of people walk past this thing every single day, and they just don't pay any attention. But then there's this photograph. This was also in Vienna. This is out of a window at the university. And this is very much in the, this is a Stephen Shaw, look how arty, kind of cool thing this is. And it's like, yeah. I'm just like, well, I thought it was quite clever at the time. But in retrospect, it feels like, not so much. Now, maybe, you're watching this and you go, hey, Alex, I really like that photograph. I'm thinking here about, following Scott's footsteps. Please should go check it. This is Scott from Frames magazine, by the way. He's got a whole range of photographs in it. They have a rough connection on the surface in so much as they're all black and white. But I wonder what the thought process is. How did Scott go through that, put the book together? Because this is where I'm struggling with right now, is going, what pictures, what style of photograph do I want to get started with? Because to sit through thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures that I have and basically chuck them all up in the air and see where they land feels like that would be really overwhelming. I do know that one of the best pieces of advice that I got from a chap, Stephen Taylor, who is up north, in the grim north of England, right? We were talking about this a couple of years ago, and he said, print out all your work, put it in on the floor if you can, and learn to see where there are connections in your work, what sort of themes jump out. Now, that was really handy, and it was extremely useful at the time. It is still extremely useful when we're looking about things like style and finding our own unique voice and stuff. And it's something we would talk about in the Photographer's Compass and in the TP Tribe and stuff. We talk about these kind of things a lot. Right? If you're interested about the tribe, there's a link in the description box below. But in this case, I feel like I'm stuck between a couple of points. I've been experimenting with trying different approaches, still keeping the same one-to-one format. I like the square. I'm a very big fan of the square image. But at the same time, these photographs here of a 1970s-esque holiday park up at the north of the coast, can they exist in the same book as black and white photographs of say, somewhere like Baltimore or Washington or London that are a lot more gritty? What about this image here? This is like one of my favorite photographs that I've ever taken. It looks so cool. It was Cambridge. Some poor little kid just dropped his Flake 99. Crash, bang, there you go. But I just love it. It's the yellow of the no parking lines and the yellow of the cone and then the splash of the white. That is so cool. But again, can this fit into a book, or can it just have to be a print up on the wall? Because there's another thing. There's a whole other kettle of fish. Prints. Do I start making prints? Because if I make prints, then there's that tendency to then I have to sell prints. And I'm not sure how I kind of feel about that. Because as soon as I start sitting there and going I'm going to make all these prints and I'm going to sell them, then that's a whole other take. Then it becomes like, oh, that's now a monetization aspect of the photography that I don't necessarily feel comfortable with right now, which is an odd thing to say because I used to sell portraits for a living. So like it's the same sort of thing. And obviously with books, people, I don't know how much, Scott's obviously selling these through frames, and, people like Last Stand, Mark Wilson. I bought this, and Edward was very kind. He gave me this one, but of course he sells these. And he had a video, which is how we got together, that talks about the whole process of how you go through that. And he does quite well out of his book sales. But prints feel like there's something else. Probably because it's like a singular thing and stuff. I don't know. I mean, if I were to offer prints, would you be interested? I don't know. Let me know. I mean, it's just, it's one thing. I am interested in what people have to say, because to be honest, and it would lean in a little bit right here. You're the only people who see my work. Right? I don't really have a website where I promote it. I promote TPE stuff. I haven't had a gallery showing since 2008, since we came in. I used to obviously have a business website, but my actual work, I got a half-formed Instagram page, and beyond that, nothing really. There's some drips and drabs. So the only people I don't get any feedback on the work, it's you guys. It's you. And then of course there's some people, some wags always come into the comment section. They're like, hey, if you like, you seem to know a lot about photography, and for somebody who seems like that, your pictures are quite shit. it's like, oh well, thanks. That's kind of nice. And you do get people like, oh, they're like, oh look, your work's just the contrast slider and things of that nature. However, flicking through all these pictures, I feel that on the whole, they are fairly decent. I quite like what I've come up with over the years. I think there's something there. But as I said, it's a conversation about a book that I'm having with myself, because I've been shooting for a long time. Often people ask me for advice about making books and things like that, and I'm happy to help them, because what I'm struggling with here is what they are struggling with. And it's easy when it's not your own photographs. It's easy to say and see the connections, to see what's there, and to pick apart the idea, to say, oh look, you've been talking about these pictures, like all this ice cream cones and things, but really, Alex, you got more excited about the black and white stuff. So it's that kind of conversation that I'm having, and I would be really interested to hear if you have similar thoughts and stuff. And yeah. Anyway, thanks so much, and I will see you again soon. Right. Cheerio.